Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Bayou Bets for Thursday, August the 18th. I'm Zach Ewing with Spencer the Guru and Jim Derry here on a lovely Thursday for you. Preseason NFL Week 2 starting tonight. Who is it? The Bears and the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Woo!
Part of Daily Best Bets.
High-powered battle out there in Seattle. But hey, it's preseason, and like you said, you hit a best bet. It pays just the same as the regular season. Saints play their second preseason game tomorrow night in Green Bay, where they've spent the whole week. It's Saints and Packers at 7 o'clock. We'll talk about that. It also just
what a coincidence.
Yeah, we didn't plan it this way, but it's NFC North week.
And it's the Packers today.
And so today is the Green Bay Packers. We'll also talk Bears and Lions. Vikings are coming tomorrow on bet.nola.com, and we'll finish up with our NFC North preview here on Bayou Bets on Monday. We're also going to talk a little CFP, some big college football news, with the Big Ten signing a $7 billion TV deal today. NBA schedule is out. We might take a look at some Pelicans odds, some baseball, even some PGA and WNBA playoffs in there. Lots going on in this mid-August, but we will start with the NFL. We'll also start by reminding you that we are powered by Caesars Sportsbook, and you too can get in on the action by going to NOLA.com/Caesars. That will automatically load our promo code, which is NOLA15. You get your first bet risk-free up to $1,500. And by the way, those promos are going to continue through football season. They might even get better. So if you've been holding out, I don't want to tell you not to do it today, but you might get some good promos as we get closer to football season as well.
You might not.
And you might not. That's right. That's right.
It's gambling.
Yeah, I don't know. We want to do PGA. We could start with the PGA. It's live. It's the only thing going on.
If
live.
It makes Uncle Big Nick feel better, I mean, he is the owner of Regis Radio, which is the best place to take a leak, to give him a plug. So go ahead. Start with PGA. That's their tagline. Regis Radiator Service. It's the best place to take a leak.
All right. Okay. Good deal. Well, here's your live odds for the BMW Championship. There you go. And those are not right. Keegan Bradley's number is not right on there. So that's what I get for doing this in a hurry. Keegan Bradley is 11-1. He's plus 1,100.
So say minus 400. That's
yeah. I'll fade that. He is in the lead, but not by that much. Rory McIlroy is halfway through his round. He's 4 under. He's chasing these guys: Justin Thomas, Keegan Bradley, Xander Schauffele, Adam Scott, Colin Morikawa, Shane Lowry, all ahead of him right now. But obviously, it's the playoffs, and so you see a stacked leaderboard, rightfully so.
Scheffler, I wonder if anybody jumped on him after he had that bogey, because he was +1. He was probably around 2,800 or something like that, and 2,200. And I'd bet if I looked right now, he'd probably be less than that, because he.
Yeah, that was 15 minutes ago.
Okay, so he birdied 3 holes in a row, so he's at -2.
Yeah, good. Sometimes it can be a good idea. I'll tell you, if you want a real long shot, Tony Finau shot like 6 over today.
Yeah, no thanks.
You can get him to finish in the top 10 like 20-1. It has happened before where these guys, there's no cut. So, it's not like he's going to be gone on the weekend.
So he could finish +20. That'd be awesome.
He could. Yeah, Nick says 100 on Finau wins 150,000. Go right ahead, Uncle Big Nick. I don't think he's going to win it.
He's got a better chance than winning that parlay he's got.
I had unders, 16 unders.
We need some unders tonight in Seattle. Trav says, who dat? Let's talk some Saints and some Packers. Lots of stories around the NFL today, too. Spencer and I were talking just before we came on air about Deshaun Watson. 11-game suspension is where they've settled on Deshaun Watson. The Cleveland Browns futures are finally up. I think they're still actually favored to miss the playoffs. It's like -170 to miss the playoffs, +145 to make it. Which, look, listen, he's going to miss more than half the season. They're going to be playing with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. So I don't know. Can Deshaun Watson, if they could go 5-6 without him, could he lift him into the playoffs? I don't know. Is he that good?
One of the things Adam Chernoff was talking about is this schedule is built towards the Browns being able to make some noise, and they certainly have enough without Deshaun Watson to be a good football team. So now I think you may actually get value on the Browns. We were talking about before, their numbers were kind of silly. They took their over-under win total off the board. I don't know if that's on the board or not now, but
it is. It's 8.5.
Yep. Okay, so I would certainly bet that over. I think it's what is it? What is the juice?
Let's see. I had it up a second ago.
And I know we're on live TV, but
so scroll down and find it here. Okay, it's the over is actually plus 130 on that, Jim.
Great value on that. Yeah. Wonderful value on that. I think there's an excellent chance the Browns still have a winning season. I'm not a huge Jacoby Brissett fan, but I think he's serviceable. And again, and Spencer can talk about their skill position players, but you talk about Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and I mean their third string running back could start for some teams, Dearness Jackson, and you go and they have decent receivers and they have enough weapons and they have a great defense. So I think this is an over 8.5 team, even without Deshaun Watson. Like I said before, the thing that scared me before is the same thing that scares me now, although it's settled, and will the circus surrounding all this become a distraction? It probably won't for the first 8 or 9 weeks because we know he's gone through the first 11 games. So they probably won't talk about it and they probably won't think about it. But as it gets closer, maybe it'll become a distraction. But the Browns have an easy enough schedule in the beginning where they could make some noise and start out like 5-1.
Spencer, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't see him starting off that hot. Even with the easy schedule, because with Brissett, I feel like the offense is going to be extremely limited, and in the receiving core outside of Amari Cooper doesn't really have anybody that's real threatening. So yeah, if they could tread water by the time Watson comes back, they could maybe have a shot because of their defense. Their defense is legit in their running game. That's what's going to keep them afloat. But I still, with Watson just coming back, I don't really trust him to be his old self down the stretch. So I feel like that's going to ultimately cost them the playoffs.
If somebody wants to give me 2.5 to 1, I'll bet right now the Browns are 4-0.
Wow.
Oh, come on. 4-0.
You want to bet me 2.5 to 1 right here on the air?
Okay, yeah.
At Carolina.
No way they go 4-0.
At Carolina, the Jets, Pittsburgh, and at Atlanta.
It's an easy schedule. I'll bet they drop one, but at 2.5 to 1. All right. So we have a bet. I will say this: the Browns were decent last year. They weren't good, but they were decent with a broken Baker Mayfield who was injured and clearly had lost his confidence. They also started Case Keenum, I think 2 or 3 times. They started Nick Mullins in one game and won that game. This is a team built on running game and defense. I will say Spencer touched on something that concerns me too, and that is Deshaun Watson comes back in week 13 against the Texans. The guy hasn't played since 2020. So,
do we think that's a coincidence, by the way, that he got 11 games instead of 12, and he comes back at Houston? What a coincidence.
My only thing is, why would the NFL have done that intentionally? They don't want this to become a sideshow. But
it's already a sideshow. It's going to be a sideshow when he comes back in 14, 11, or 13, or 12.
But anyway,
back against Houston.
I just don't know that you can count on the guy to say, they're going to go 4-1 with Deshaun Watson. He's going to, like, his what is it, third game back is against the Saints and that defense, and he's just going to run up and down the field against the Saints. Like, I don't. That seems a little. He's gonna get in a shootout with Joe Burrow and keep up with the Bengals. Like, some of these games that they've got to play are not easy down the stretch. So I don't think you can count on Deshaun Watson lifting them from 6-5 to 10-7 and making the playoffs or whatever it might be. But it is interesting, and that is a good segue into the Saints because they do play on Christmas Eve. Let's see. Kay Moliere 504. What's up? We're talking about a lot of stuff today. Stay tuned. James checking in from Chicago, not too far from Green Bay, where the Saints are playing tomorrow night. Today's a day off for the Saints and Packers. They've had joint practices all week. Both teams talked about, hey, it was great to get out there against somebody else. There was a little skirmish. The Saints got out of the hot weather. I think it's been a beneficial week for these guys. Now we get to see them actually play sort of a game against each other.
Yeah, I think that we'll see. Maybe tempers will flare. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a little skirmish on the left side of the Saints offensive line. Who knows? We talked about, I don't think it's going to be anything exciting. You're not going to see Jameis Winston play. You'll probably see Andy Dalton for 2, potentially 3 series. You're going to see a whole lot of Ian Book again, and you're going to see a little bit probably of KJ Costello. And as far as the Packers go, they're not going to run their ones out there very long. So there's nothing to be excited about here, although it will be interesting to see if that defense plays as well as it played last week, and if Andy Dalton can have 2 drives in a row like he had that first drive last week, it says a lot.
Jordan Love, by the way, who's starting for the Packers, Aaron Rodgers' backup, he played 5 series last week. 2 ended in touchdowns, 3 ended in picks against the 49ers. So I don't know if he's going to get that much run, but that's almost a full half. A half's usually 6 or 7 possessions. So if he plays that much, that's maybe a pretty good indication why the Packers are favored in this one, because if he does play that much, he'll be playing against the Saints 3s and 4s by the end of the first half.
Yeah, I'm thinking he could do pretty well there, because he flashed against the 49ers, him and Trey Lance kind of duking it out there like a shootout with them, and he ran a little bit too. So yeah, I definitely think he'll put up some numbers there. They've got those young weapons here and there. The Romeo Dobbs kid is looking good, so I'm thinking they'll. But I think the Saints defense could give him some trouble. So I'm thinking. It's just, it's tough for me to say as far as what direction to lean here, because I feel like it could end up Green Bay easily if Love goes off, or if he throws a bunch of picks, it could be the Saints easily. So I'd probably have to go with Green Bay, though, because I just don't trust Ian Book at all.
It just seems like they're willing to play guys a little more than the Saints are for a little bit longer. So that's why I would lean Green Bay as well. Kay Moliere said, practice is more exciting. Yeah, these joint practices, I actually really like them. The reports you get from them, I feel like, are more valuable, Jim, than you get from your run-of-the-mill practice.
Yeah, and I think in really 7 to 10 years from now, I think there won't be a preseason. I think you'll have joint practices or a couple in glorified scrimmages with these teams. They may finish with a glorified scrimmage or something that the NFL Network will televise or something like that, and they'll have refs there doing them. But I think as far as preseason goes, I don't think this kind of preseason that we have now is going to be around much longer.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, you're just not getting very much out of these games.
No, I think you're getting a lot more out of these joint practices, like you talk about, and so I mean, and it's less fun for the bookmakers.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is ironically, the thing that may keep the preseason going is what we're talking about right here. That it gives 3 more weeks of people to gamble on things in August, although the season will probably go to 18 regular season games. Yeah. And so that's even better. But yeah, Uncle Big Nick's right. They practice 3 or 4 days together. They start fighting. Hell, the Saints have fights amongst themselves in Metairie all the time. Shout out Trevor Penning. You get another team in there, and of course it's going to happen.
I mean, 50% of the buffets that Nick and I go to end in a fight. So, I mean, we're fighting over who's getting the last chicken away.
By the way, Uncle Big Nick, go punts. We want lots of punts this weekend in all 16 games, all 16 unders, baby. Punts, turnovers on 4th down, just across midfield, that sort of thing. We need lots and lots of that, lots of runs. Go clock. Okay, we're talking NFC North. Didn't plan it this way. Maybe Jim planned it this way, but I'm not smart enough to plan it this way. The Saints are playing the Packers this week. We're talking NFC North. We do this alphabetically, but it kind of also works in reverse order of how good these teams are, because the Chicago Bears are going to be bad.
Really bad. I mean, don't play anything on this board. There is zero value. You can't bet the under because it's minus 190. You can't bet not to make the playoffs at minus 475. There's no value in any over. There's no value in – you cannot touch this team with a stick in any way, shape, or form. But they're going to be bad, and I think they're like a 4 or 5 win team. So it's not worth the minus 190 to play it.
No, but there are sixes out there. If you shop around different sports books, you could find a 6 for more like minus 130. If you really think they're going to be bad, maybe that's
and then the worst you're playing is probably a push. But I mean, their schedule is brutal to start. They say San Francisco and at Green Bay right off the bat. I mean, that's 0-2 if I ever saw 0-2.
It might be down to their second string offensive line by then.
And you know what? Houston is no gimme in week 3. Maybe the Texans are going to win 3 or 4 games. Why not the Bears? The Bears are going to be really bad.
All right, we have a definitely not tongue-in-cheek betting question for Jim.
Oh boy.
if he I assume you mean if you win the 3rd under, do you hedge with the next 13? Jim is a hedging fool.
No. if you come down to the last 2 games or something like that, or 2 or 3 games, and you hedge, sure, but not for 13 games. No.
I just hope we at least get
you
through
talk.
tomorrow.
I'm a hedging. You're a hedging fool too, buddy.
If we can get through tonight and the 4 or 5 games tomorrow with all unders, this is going to get real interesting. I don't know how likely that is either, but
I've already told him that if he wins that money, he has to be the sponsor, and we're gonna lose Caesar Sportsbook, and it's gonna be Bayou Bets sponsored by Uncle Big Nick. I'm just saying.
Hold on there. Hold on. We like Caesars. Hold on there. All right.
We love them.
Yeah.
But Uncle Big Nick's
but yeah, he is taking us to the World Series. Bet.nola.com trip to the World Series. That's for sure. Moving on in the NFC North, Detroit Lions next. This is kind of, I know they're on Hard Knocks and all that on HBO, and so a lot of people get to see their practice. They're kind of a sneaky team. Like a lot of people say, if you want a team that's going to be better than people think, it's nudge, nudge, it's the Lions. The weird thing here is the Super Bowl, NFC North odds are all better than the Bears. But then you look at the bottom here, their win total is lower, although it's juiced to the over, and the odds to make the playoffs are lower.
Yeah, it's weird. And I love the Lions this year, and Adam disagrees with me. So there you go. And I'll tell you, who else disagrees with me is the networks. I know the Lions don't get on primetime a lot, but how about this? They aren't on primetime a single time all season. You know how hard that is to do these days? Their only Thursday game is their traditional morning Thanksgiving game. And then they have a Saturday game on Christmas Eve, like most of the rest of the league, in the day again at Carolina that no one will watch. The networks certainly don't think the Lions are going to be any good, but and Spencer and I kind of talked about this as well. Neither one of us like Jared Goff. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But the rest of this team, they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. They have a really good backfield. They have good wide receivers, not great. Their defense is suspect, but you talk about their skill players. If Jared Goff can just be an average or maybe slightly below average, and with this schedule, there are no long stretches where they got to play back-to-back really tough games. The Lions can win 7 or 8 games. I really think that.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jim, because I feel like their defense will be better too with Aiden Hutchinson there. I feel like he's going to really bring some heart and of course his talent. He's an elite talent, great edge rusher out of Michigan. So I'm thinking that they'll definitely be improved. They are the Lions though, so it's hard to bet a whole lot on them. But I definitely see the foundation being laid out there. They're doing it the right way. They're building through the draft. They did the hard thing and traded away Matthew Stafford, but I think in the long run that was the right call because you see them the stockpiling these great prospects: Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Jamison Williams, and they're. I don't think they'll quite make the playoffs this year, but I think they'll be better. And then by 2023, they could be a real threat.
And Zach, Adam points out, if they missed our video, go back and watch them. Adam is fantastic, but we did a video on each team so far and will for the rest of our previews. But one thing he talks about with the Lions is he doesn't think there's a ton of value on the numbers, the over on the win total, but he says the look-ahead lines, go bet the Lions overs because there's going to be all those overs are going to change as they go through the season. They're going to be in a lot of shootouts. The Lions are going to score a lot of points, and their opposition is going to probably score a lot of points. Value to be had on look-ahead overs right now involving the Detroit Lions.
Kyle says Lions are his surprise team. He likes what they got. Jamison Williams from Alabama. Another question from Kyle here. He said, used to say Jimmy Johnson developed the thought process. Most teams wanted to play their starters in the third game. I assume that's of the preseason. And says, is there a time now we'll see the starters play together? I think it's changed. It's the trend you were talking about, Jim. No, a lot of teams don't care about that. If they do, it's still the third game.
Yep.
And that's because there's, instead of that fourth preseason game, you now just get a week off. And so there's plenty of time for anybody who gets banged up or whatever to be healthy for the season. And so it's still that third game. You'll see more Saints starters, I think, play next Friday night in the Dome against the Chargers. I still don't think it'll be the full offense, the full first team though.
If it is, it'll only be for a series. I if I had to bet, I'd say Jameis Winston doesn't play. If I had to bet, I'd say Michael Thomas maybe just gets in there for a series just to suit up and the crowd can go crazy. What little crowd there's going to be. But for the most part, it's going to be a one and done kind of thing for starters next week. They don't care anymore. I mean, we've seen the trend every year. Starters play less and less, even in the third preseason game. But that being said, I do think they will treat this last preseason game like they would treat a normal third preseason game, again, because they have that week off. The fourth preseason game, they don't they don't play anybody anyway. They haven't for a while now. And so, the only people that are missing out is the people who are in the bubble, the players who are in the bubble. They're going to miss another chance to make a team. So,
and honestly, if you're number 53 on the roster, I'm not sure how much more one game is going to help anyway against other backups. Preseason for the Saints continues tomorrow against the Packers. That was our team to preview on bet.nola.com today. Jim had his video with Adam Chernoff this morning and a pick on the win total. Spencer just came up an hour ago. You had your fantasy preview. The Packers, I know we kind of laughed at them and looked at Super Bowl odds and said, you can't bet the Packers 11-1. They lost Davante Adams. This is still a very talented team.
Yeah, I still like them because of their defense. They've got a defense to go with there, which is they're still talented offense. I think they're going to be leaning more on the running game with Rodgers getting up in age. But I still think this is a team that's going to be very much in the thick of things in NFC North. But, with the Vikings, we'll talk about them later. But, with them, I feel like Ian improved. I think that'll make Green Bay's road a little tougher. I don't think they're just going to have a cakewalk over the division like the past couple years. And I don't think Rodgers, I don't think his numbers will be like they were, now that Davante Adams is gone. But I still think this is a team that's a playoff team. I'm definitely not fading them like some more.
Jim, your thoughts on the Packers?
I don't like this team at all. I really don't. I think that now I say that, take that with a grain of salt. I still think they'll win, 10 games or so. But it wouldn't surprise me if they won 9. I don't think it's not just Davante Adams. It's the fact that, they lose Valdes-Scantling too. Their number one receiver is Alan Lazard. And Aaron Jones disappears at times. I like A.J. Dillon. I think, he's going to be a great back. I think their defense is average or maybe slightly above average. The good thing for the Packers is they play in a division where you pretty much can count 4 wins against the Bears and Lions, right? And who knows? Maybe the Lions actually pull one off. They almost beat them last year. But some of the other games, they start off, to me, I think you're going to learn a lot about this team. I said this in the video today. At Minnesota, first week of the season, that is going to tell me a whole lot about this Green Bay Packers team, because I personally don't think they're the same caliber type team. Of course, they did win 13 games last year, so to go from 13 to 9 would be quite a drop. But the only thing to me that you can bet on this list is under, because minus 110 at 11. I really think their ceiling is 11. If you look at their schedule, and they got to play Buffalo, Tampa Bay, New England's good, Dallas, Tennessee, Philadelphia, Minnesota twice. I think their ceiling's 11. So I think there is value in their under. I'm not touching conference or Super Bowl, certainly not 11-1 and division odds at minus 170. That's insane.
Yeah, I have a futures bet in on Minnesota, and I think I got it more like plus 300 earlier in the offseason. We'll talk about the Vikings on bet.nola.com tomorrow, and then on Bayou Bets on Monday afternoon to finish off the NFC North. Then we'll move on to the AFC South, and then all we have left is the NFC South. I got to say, I kind of come down halfway in between you guys, because the Packers have had great regular seasons the last few years. And I could see them dropping a few more games this year. The schedule's tougher. They're going to have to learn to live without Davante Adams, although Aaron Rodgers, quite frankly, has elevated his game when Davante Adams has not been there the last few years. Can he do that for a whole season? I don't know. But I think they may see better playoff success, simply because I think the Rams are going to have a hangover this year. I don't like the Bucs at all. In fact, we need to talk about that too, because Todd Bowles said again today, I don't know when Tom Brady's going to be back. I said it was going to be after the Tennessee game. That's this weekend. But everybody sort of assumed that meant he would be back like the Monday after the Tennessee game. Now it kind of sounds like maybe not for another week or so. And time-wise, it's not going to take Tom Brady more than 2 weeks to get ready for the season. But I question whether is he all in here? I mean, the guy retired, came back. I'm fading the Bucs, and so I think the Packers, this may be the year they actually break through and make a Super Bowl run, even if the regular season's not as good.
That would be a shame if he didn't play, wouldn't it?
Yeah, such a shame. Such a shame.
Bring on Blaine Gabbert, baby.
Yeah, no, about the Packers, if I'm remembering right, I mean, it's way back, over 10 years now since they won the Super Bowl, but weren't they a wild card team the year they won it?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think
Dallas was the number 1 seed that year.
I think they were like a 6th seed, as a matter of fact.
And so I could easily see something like that happen where they don't have as good of a regular season. It takes them some time. Maybe they swing a trade for a wide receiver in the middle of the season, and then they get going. And the NFC, quite frankly, I don't like the Bucs. I'm not huge on the Rams. I think it could be wide open for you.
Can you put that comment back up on the screen? That last one?
Sure.
Uncle Big Nick talking about Rodgers already complaining. That is going to be an issue because he's a little pouty baby. He crawls into his shell. I mean, we've seen it before. If they start dropping balls and things aren't going his way, we saw him with the last year with McCarthy. He was done. He wanted to write himself off. He wanted to write the ticket out of there. And, and it took Matt LaFleur a little while for him and Matt LaFleur to gel a little bit. And if this receiving core doesn't perform up to par, and he's got his number 2 guy is a rookie, can't you just see drops happening and, a couple fumbles from Aaron Jones, and he starts getting ticked off, and they go into a little skid.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say is that throughout all of that, they've always won. He complains, he says stuff to the press, but
I mean, they won 13 games last year and lost in their first playoff game.
Trav says he thinks Brady might not come back. I think he'll come back. I just question whether his heart's in it anymore.
Why would you say you're coming back and then don't? That would be my question.
I mean, I think he'll come back and play. But I just, I'm not sure. He's 45 years old. He's going to have his moments for sure. But it just doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like Tom Brady to me. I wouldn't touch the Bucs with a stick.
Maybe Gronk retiring really hurt his feelings, and he's like, I'm just going to go hang.
Yeah, he really thought Gronk would come back. You're watching Bayou Bets on bet.nola.com. Thursday, August the 18th. Zach, Spencer, and Jim here with you. A few other things to talk about in the second half of our show today. College football season, guys, starts next week. We got I was looking at this last night in our newsletter. And by the way, if you're not signed up for our Bayou Bets newsletter, make sure you do that. Go to bet.nola.com, sign up for the newsletter in your inbox 6 days a week. Lets you know everything that we're thinking, the key lines for the week, links to our stories, our coverage, our picks, things like that. And a good place to catch up on this show in case you miss it. So bet.nola.com for that. But I was thinking like next Saturday, August the 27th, it's week 0, as they say in college football. There's not a lot of teams playing, but you have games starting at, I think, 11 o'clock Central. They play in Dublin, Ireland, Northwestern and Nebraska, all the way until 10 o'clock at night. They start Vandy and Hawaii out in Honolulu, literally across the globe, a day full of college football.
My wife's going to be thrilled.
I mean, mine won't be, but that's okay. That's okay.
I'm completely joking.
The other news in college football today, as I mentioned at the top, the Big Ten, a $7 billion TV deal over 6 years. They've passed the SEC, at least for the time being. SEC will probably pass them back the next time they sign a TV deal. But it got me thinking, in college football's problem right now, if you want to call it a problem, is just a complete lack of parity. Like either Clemson or an SEC or a Big Ten team has won every single national championship. I think since Florida State won it, 10, 11 years ago with Jameis Winston. And so Caesars has these odds up, and this says it all, guys. Like, okay, you can take Alabama against the field, and the field is a favorite there. But if you throw Georgia in with Alabama, all of a sudden the field is now a dog just 2 teams. And if you throw Ohio State in with Alabama and Georgia, it's very lopsided to the top 3.
Yeah, that's pretty wild how the field's just like basically getting no credit. But I mean, that's the reality. it's one of those deals to where I wouldn't bet the field. I mean, as much as I want to, be like, come on, like trying to pull for the underdogs, but it's just, it'd be one of those things. I mean, you'd be betting with your heart. I mean, my head tells me, no, the field ain't doing it, man. It's just the deck's just too stacked in those top teams' favor.
I always say take the field with a bet like this. You say you want one team in the preseason, and you're giving me the field. I 98% of the time take the field, but in the grand scheme of things, if you think about it through, what are the chances that Alabama doesn't make the playoff? I mean, let's get real. It's probably 3-1 against.
And if they don't, Georgia almost definitely is.
For sure. So I mean, do you want to lay $220 to win $100 and have to root against Alabama all year? That's not worth it. I wouldn't touch any of these things. I don't think.
The bottom one is actually, I'd say the middle one at -105 is somewhat intriguing to me, simply because you do get Ohio State and Clemson and anybody else and so you're going to have at least two teams in the playoff. One of them could be Ohio State. It's obviously Alabama and Georgia both made the playoff last year, but it's somewhat unlikely that the SEC gets two in any given year, and so chances are you actually have three teams in the playoff, right, and you got a -105. So, but the problem is that they
don't play each other during the regular season, right? So, I mean, the only chance. So, if they both go undefeated, they play in the SEC championship game, and one team wins in overtime or by a field goal or something, then they probably both get in. But
yeah, there's a path, sure. There's a path, but I don't know that it's likely. Yeah,
they're not going to want it to happen.
You got at least two, maybe three teams in the playoff if you take the field in that middle bet there at -105. Yeah. And one of those teams very well could be Ohio State, which is not going to be a huge underdog against either of those teams. And so I think you have a fighting chance in that one. So college football starts next week. We'll talk more LSU as we go too. We're just a couple weeks away from LSU, Florida State in the Dome on September 4th. And of course, we will be live with a couple of special editions of Bayou Bets Saturday, September 3rd from the Caesars Sportsbook at Harrah's, New Orleans. And then on Sunday from Champion Square outside the Dome at 4 o'clock, just before kickoff for LSU and Florida State. And then fast forward another month, and we talk Pelicans again. It's NBA time. The schedule came out yesterday. The Pelicans open on October the 19th in Brooklyn. Who the hell knows which team Kevin Durant will be playing for, if either. But they are going to open in Brooklyn. Wouldn't that be something if the Pels swing a trade for Durant and then they open against the Nets? Talk about your storylines.
Hey, maybe they're like the NFL. Maybe they know something we don't, and they're trying for this huge storyline. Who knows?
Maybe so. But anyway, it's interesting. The Pelicans obviously are not the underdog they have been in years past. Only 35-1 to win an NBA title. That number's not high enough for me to bet it, but it does make you think if there's something juiced into this, Spencer, that there is a chance that Durant is coming to New Orleans.
Oh man, Durant coming to New Orleans, man. I don't like the sound of that. I feel like I want to just see how the young team gels with Zion in there. I feel like if you bring Durant in, that's just going to throw the chemistry off. I know KD's one of the greatest ever to do it, but
are you crazy?
I don't want it. I don't want KD, man. I feel like I like what they're building, and let's keep the focus on Zion. That's Zion.
I understand. I understand the loyalty. I understand the urge to kind of keep it together and build it from within. If you have a chance to get a top 5 player in the NBA, maybe a top 10 player in NBA history, while he's still in his prime for a couple years, and pair him with Zion, I think you got to do it.
You find a way to make it work.
I don't know that it's going to happen. I don't know that it's likely, but if you have a chance to make it work, even if it means giving up Brandon Ingram, this is one of those things where, listen, man, flags fly forever.
Oh, no, you don't give up Brandon Ingram. I'm on Spencer's side with that one. If you got to give Brandon Ingram, the answer is no then.
I think that's what it would take.
Then no.
I do think that's what it would take.
Yeah, that's what the scenarios are saying. And I just feel like Brandon Ingram still got room for growth, where I feel like Durant's, his career is steadily declining. Yeah, he's still at an elite level, but he's been very injury prone, and his attitude recently has just not been very, very ideal with the way he's already wanting out. He signed a big contract with Brooklyn, and it just seems like unless everything's going his way, it's gonna pout. So I don't.
Yeah, there's no way I would do that.
It would be a gamble for sure, but I don't think you're getting him without giving up Ingram. So, and I understand. Listen, it's hard to do that. I like Brandon Ingram as much as the next guy, but the hope is that Brandon Ingram becomes 80% of what Kevin Durant is. If you can get the actual Kevin Durant, to me that's a risk worth taking. But
if you were on the precipice of a championship, I'd say maybe, but they're not there yet.
But you are with Kevin. If you get Kevin Durant, you are on the precipice of a championship. You always are with Kevin Durant. That's what I'm saying. Add him with the defense that they've got, Zion on the inside.
I'm with Spencer on this one.
All right. Well, we'll see. I don't think it's likely to happen anyway, but we shall see. Chime in the comments. Let us know if you think it's a good idea, Pelicans to sign Kevin or to trade for Kevin Durant, if it means giving up Brandon Ingram plus some draft picks probably. Would you be willing to do that? The draft picks don't concern me at all because I don't think the Pelicans don't have a lot of room to improve this roster unless you're bringing in a superstar anyway. So the draft picks don't concern me nearly as much. It'd be Ingram. In the meantime, we'll talk some baseball. Things are changing every day, of course. About 45 games or so left to play now. In the National League, it's actually shaping up to be a pretty clean-cut playoff picture right now. You have the three teams at the top. Dodgers, Mets, Braves are going to make it. Cardinals, Padres, Phillies are now very heavy favorites to be the other three teams. Brewers still have a chance both in the Central Division and to win the wild card, but they're really the only team at this point that could keep one of those three teams out, Spencer.
Right, yeah, and I don't really see them making a big push because they didn't. The trade deadline didn't really go in their favor, and they just don't really have the lineup. I mean, yeah, they've got the big dog starting pitchers with Burns and Woodruff, but outside of that, though, they don't really impress me because I mean, all these other teams. I mean, the Phillies have a nice rotation with Nola and Wheeler. The Padres have a nice rotation with Musgrove and Snell and Yu Darvish. I mean, they probably got a little more questions than the Phillies and Brewers with their pitching, but their lineup with Soto and Machado should be good enough to get them in. And then my Cardinals, I feel, are playing good enough ball right now to get in. Say, I don't see a spot for Milwaukee.
That's a shame.
Jim and the Brewers, man.
Poor Brewers.
Brewers, Astros, and Yankees could all fall into the Atlantic Ocean, and I wouldn't. I mean, not the players, just the team. Like if you take, I feel
the same way about the Angels, Astros, and Yankees. So I enjoyed this week's series in Anaheim. The Mariners swept the Angels despite Shohei Ohtani's best efforts, which is usually the case for the Angels. AL playoff picture, Jim, a lot choppier here. It's very Astros and Yankees are the only two teams guaranteed to make it. You feel pretty good about the Mariners and Blue Jays, but two more spots. One will be the Central Division champ, one the third wild card team, and it's going to be a real dogfight.
You enjoyed the Mariners game more than the one you saw in person a couple of weeks ago?
Just a bit.
Okay, just making sure. I think it was 6-0? Something like
11-1, man.
Oh, okay. I would just maybe I turned it off when it was 6-0.
I did see. I did go to Miami and see Julio's first career home run though. So that
there you go. That does. I still like the Rays. I think Tampa Bay is. They don't give up the bomb to Donaldson last night in the 10th, and they sweep the Yankees. So I mean, I think the Rays. We talked about it before. I still think the Rays are going to be the team that's going to come along towards the end. Obviously, you have one more after that. And I don't know why, but I kind of like the Twins. I know they haven't played all that well lately, but there's something about them that I think they can make a little run as well. So that's something to watch out for sure.
And that's changes every single day. So
yeah,
I do want to point one more thing out. Yeah,
we looked at where the Rays were just a few weeks ago. The Rays were plus like 150 or 160, I think, a few weeks ago.
And by the way, they came within a whisker of sweeping a 4-game series in the Bronx.
That's what I'm saying.
Night.
If Donaldson doesn't hit the bomb,
that was the game of the night. So yeah, it was crazy, and the Rays looked like they may be headed for the playoffs again.
Yeah,
I do want to mention this, and I know we don't talk a lot about the WNBA. The playoffs started last night. I see some real value here, and the team I see value in is the Connecticut Sun, and I actually got them at plus 430 yesterday before the playoffs started, and Chicago, which is the defending champion, actually lost their first game, and the first round is just best of 3, so a game 1 loss is a big deal, and And so Connecticut's already, without even playing a game, gone from 430 to 300. I mean, Las Vegas is the favorite. Connecticut had the best point differential in the league. They dominated weaker competition, which is a stat I love to look at. Now, they did not perform well against Las Vegas or Chicago, the top two teams, but I do think they have a path, and at plus 300, I'm in on Connecticut.
I got to root for the Aces. When we were coming back from the draft and I was in the airport, the Aces were coming. I think they were coming into town, and a couple of them came up and just started talking to me. It was kind of cool.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah, so now I'm an Aces fan, so I'm rooting for them.
Asia Wilson, former player of the year at South Carolina, she's their star.
Yeah.
So an SEC connection there as well. Uncle Big Nick missed tonight's game. Imagine what that payout could have been. Man. One more under.
It's probably been $5 million, probably.
No, it's okay, Uncle Big Nick. Tonight's going to be the only one that goes over. You're good.
Yeah.
Well, tonight, you know what you do, Uncle Big Nick? You hedge. You bet $1.2 million on the under. And if you win, you're riding free.
Somehow I don't think that's the definition of hedge, but
wedge. You wedge.
I don't have time to update the odds for the BMW, but Rory just had back-to-back birdies. He's at 6 under with 4 holes left to play.
Minus 600 now.
And so he is the heavy favorite now. I mean, not heavy favorite,
joking.
but he's plus 320, and Justin Thomas plus 650. Scotty, by the way, as you mentioned, Jim, is on a rampage. And he has birdied 4 of the last 5. Is that right? 8, 3 of the last 4. Excuse me. But he's at 3 under and is now plus 1,100. So if you grabbed him, at plus 3,000 a couple of hours ago, you're in good shape. So he's actually the third favorite right now behind Rory and Justin Thomas.
I was too busy working. I missed it.
Yeah. We don't actually work. We just kind of talk betting, but. No, that's not true.
Have you seen these videos and these previews?
So, hey, keep it locked to bet.nola.com all weekend long. We'll finish up NFC North previews tomorrow with the Minnesota Vikings. Spencer will have his NASCAR glance. We'll keep doing fantasy football stuff. What else we got going on? Next week? Datitude came out this morning, Cat Terrell. And, of course, we'll be tracking Saints, Packers, and the NFL preseason all week, too.
It was a really cool conversation with Kat this morning. We actually recorded it late yesterday afternoon, but I hadn't seen her in a bit. I saw her briefly when I covered the Dallas game last year, and one at a time, but just briefly. But we got a chance to reminisce the first 3 or 4 minutes of the show. It's kind of cool, kind of interesting too. Before she gets in, and she had some really good insight on Jameis and more insight on Dennis Allen as well. So worth listening to. Came out today because I'm going to be out of the realm of a computer tomorrow.
And then also next week, I will finish up college football previews. The 2 conferences I haven't got to are the Big Ten and the SEC. So they're coming up next week. And then it's college football time. And then after that, it's NFL time. So we are there. We made it. It's all downhill from here, babe.
You can see the light. We haven't made it yet. I could see the light.
Well, that's true. Okay.
And not the ring light in my eyes either.
We got preseason football for 2 more weeks, and then we have college football starting, and then we're rolling. We are rolling. So final thoughts, guys. Spencer, final thoughts on this Thursday.
All right. Yeah, I'll be interested to see how this weekend preseason goes and see it'll be even more data to see who's going to get cut and who's going to make the team for all these different teams, because doing these deep fantasy leagues that I do, it's crazy to think some players I might draft could get cut. So it's just, trying to monitor all the different news and what's going on. It changes almost every day. For example, the Patriots, but one day it's Pierre Strong, the James White role. Now that James retired, he's looking like a ghost in camp. Now Ty Montgomery's looking like the James White role, and it's just crazy.
And Belichick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's just teams like that are really frustrating, but it's just be interesting to see how these preseason games end up, and I might have to get down a little bit, try to see which I might pick 3 or 4 unders. Not gonna go wild like Uncle Big Nick, but I'm gonna try to find a few unders I like.
Go big or go home, baby.
That's right.
The other thing I wanted to mention too, Jim, before we get to you, I had a UFC 278 preview for the odds also up on bet.nola.com. So if you are into UFC, that's something we've added to our plate as well. And we've got a guy who's pretty sharp in picking those things. And so he has his latest up this morning on bet.nola.com.
Yeah, worth taking a look for sure. And he obviously knows what he's talking about. So worth taking a look. My note is I had a sad note at the end of Monday's Bayou Bets. I have a happy note today. The reason why I'm out of pocket tomorrow, I am traveling to Florida. It is my dad's 80th birthday. So another guy named Jim Derry is going to be 80 years old. He's actually be 80 on Monday, but they're having a party for him Friday night.
How is he your dad if he's only like 6 years older than you?
Oh, that's an Uncle Big Nick line. Did you get that from him?
No, but I'm pandering for sure.
But anyway, happy birthday, Jim Derry Sr., and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night.
You know what's funny is my dad turns 80 next year, so that's
wow.
Yeah. See, Nick went even further.
Yeah, so there he goes.
Jim Derry turns 80 on Saturday. Everybody. I might put that in the headline for this show recap in the paper tomorrow. All right. We will see you all Monday, 4:00 on these same social media channels for the next edition of Bayou Bets. Until then, check out Datitude. If you've got a 9-hour drive ahead of you, maybe a podcast is in line.
You can listen to it like 9 times.
That's right. And we've also got the Fantasy Roundup coming up at 2:00 on Tuesday. So until then, be safe, have fun, enjoy Saints and Packers, everybody, and we will be with you next week.